Before we get started, like this content, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell for daily notifications. And if you want to go further, send a message to Independent Comics saying, hey, we are forced to be reckoned with. Check out our comic in the description. Case of the Littlest Umbrella. 2 comic books associated with this. A great product plus one message here. We can defy gatekeepers. We can go out, we can do our own thing, and if people don't like it, we'll keep doing it anyway. We have 2 milestones we're rolling up on here, so if you want to help us out to hit those, definitely appreciate it. So today I want to return to that wonderful world of litigation. And well, when I'm talking about this stuff, I hate seeing some of the things that Victor MIGNOGNA has actually had to deal with. I mean, there's absolutely insane stuff that this guy has to deny. Things that you would never want, first of all, discussed with your name. That's all been thrown out there. There's never been any substantiation with it. And yet, here we are. What's sad about this stuff, too, is we have seen all of this develop since January. And now we've seen the guy go out, talk about what exactly he does at conventions, giving time to people and on. And, well, sometimes, somehow, that becomes a criminal act. So here you have him denying quite a few things. I have never. So we go through the whole I have never list. I have never. Certain type of assault, excuse me for not saying that with the video. We have enough problems with the platform as well. Harassed anyone or attempted to do so. I've never physically assaulted any woman or attempted to do so. I have never forced or attempted forced anyone to kiss, hug, or engage in any activities, so specific type. What's crazy about that stuff with the kiss or the hug thing, a lot of the accusation came from people going to conventions. Hey, I went to a convention and, well, 8 years later, I feel that. It's amazing to me because I've had the luxury of watching this guy deal with people at Bubba Fest and also with Anime Matsuri. Anime Matsuri, I stood around for days watching the way that he interacts with not only fandom, but other people outside of that meet and greet time. You know, just talking to people as people. I also saw him for 2 days with Bubba Fest, and it's amazing. You'll have people within a 3 to 5 minute block come up and sometimes tell this guy everything about them. Talk about what they've been through. They'll cry. They'll want a hug. And well, being a decent human being and reciprocating feelings, somehow that's monstrous these days. It says a lot about people, doesn't it? So continuing. I have never fondled, kissed without consent, or otherwise inappropriately had contact with underage people or adults. Again, something that is accusation, but no substantiation whatsoever. You have that thrown out there. You have a man's name sullied, and well, he has to go to this length to say, I'm going to claim what's mine again. Again, can you imagine that attached to you? Really, think about how that would impact you. Continuing on. I've never inappropriately touched, rubbed, struck any female fan, guest, staff, or acquaintance. Can you imagine having to throw those words in there? Again, stroke. Again, struck. So, I mean, this stuff is all over the board. They're insane people that are making insane comments. And, well, you have to go out here and you have to deny it. I have never had that specific type of contact with anyone without their consent. I have never attempted to assault, harass, touch inappropriately, or have any non-consensual contact with Rial or Marquis. I have read Marquis' July 18, 2019 affidavit. It's attached as Exhibit A for the motion to dismiss, and he denies the fact that, well, she says, he grabbed my hair, he pulled it down. No, never did that. Whispered a certain type of suggested or violent statement to her. Never pressed my lips to her ears, as she claims. Now, again, if you go back and you read that, it's absolutely astounding to hear. And if you go and you look at the affidavit from Chuck Huber, you'll find another interesting thing. He says that Jamie Marquis is not the type of person to, one, allow this to happen, and number two, to allow it to happen and it not be discussed and discussed and discussed. You know, of course, though, right now we have a certain hashtag that's popped up. People tell you over and over again, it's anime's time to have that pop up. Therefore, so continuing on, Tammy Denbo contacted me on January 25th, 2019. She stated she was an executive with Sony and advised me that she wanted to interview me by phone about several allegations that had been reported against me. We discussed 3 allegations. So this is all that ends up in the discussion. You really need to key in on this too. Number 1, an accusation that at an anime convention, I ate a jelly bean thrown at me by Monica in a specific type of suggestive manner. I did not eat the jelly bean in that specific manner. I made no suggestive statements, and no one, including Rial, appeared to interpret the action and comments as being that type in nature. I told that to Tammy Denbo. Can you imagine having to say that? Not only did I not going through all of those denials, but when it comes to eating a jelly bean, I did not eat that jelly bean in that specific way. I also remember the accusations from Monica Rial did not actually make it in anywhere. They did not have headway until after February. So you have investigators. You have that time when these people can land that body blow. And they didn't. The only thing that they threw out there against VIC MIGNOGNA was eating a jelly bean. I mean, seriously. Meanwhile, we find out at conventions, well, go back in and watch the video about timeline. You'll see what these folks do at conventions, and it's only a little snippet of that. But of course, eating that jelly bean, that was a bridge too far. Then there was an accusation. I invited 2 adult females who had flirted with me numerous times over the previous year to my hotel room at Anime Convention, then harassed or assaulted them. I did not harass or assault. I expressed romantic interest. They declined, left my room. I did not, and I told that to Tammy Denbo. That's talking about the twins. You know, the twins that lived with the person above and, well, the other person that also went out of their way to contact a Christopher Slatosh. I talked about that in its own video where they tried to ruin VIC MIGNOGNA. So if you're going to have those 2 people, well, here's another person in that sphere of influence. Then there's an accusation that I kissed a Funimation Production LLC employee, Sarah Bachmeyer, without her consent in her office. I did share a single consensual kiss with her. There was no coercion or lack of consent. I told this to, again, Denbo. This was before the accusation of Funimation by Sony. So you have a no-hug policy come up in, say, 2017. Well, it falls outside of that window. But still, hey, you know, whatever. Then continuing, immediately after this conversation, I emailed Tammy Denbo about the investigation. The emails, they're attached to this as well. Before the consensual kiss in her office at Funimation, Sarah Bachmeyer and I corresponded via text, phone calls, and in person for at least a year or more. I regularly stopped by her office while in her studio recording just to say hi. She appeared to welcome my interest in her and appeared to be interested in me. Eventually I asked to kiss her and she agreed. We only kissed the one time. In the years since that, she's never expressed outrage or anger, so you don't have anything aimed that way. Tammy Denbo did not mention or ask me about other incidents. Now that's important to note too, because you have Monica Rial also telling people that there were dozens of folks that came forward. They talked to Funimation. So, interesting how that comes together. In particular, she did not mention or ask about the purported attempted assault 2007 against Rial, nor did she mention the hair-pulling incident with Jamie Markey. Now, those 2 things are important to note there because the accusations didn't actually come up until February. It's almost as if they came in as a, well, what about this after the fact? Interesting how that went. I was assured by Denbo that the investigation and its results would be kept confidential. Yeah, so, of course, that didn't happen, and, well, Funimation plastered it all over the internet. Fun times, huh? Fun times. I was informed by telephone on Saturday, January 26th, that I'd been terminated by Funimation. By mid-January, I had valid contracts with dozens of conventions to appear as a guest in 2019. At least a dozen canceled my appearance by the time I filed this lawsuit, and they are listed in the amended petition. So they list all of these. Now here's the ones that he appeared at. And this is important because you see how much money is represented. You see Kamea-Con with 37,000, Anime Matsuri. And Anime Matsuri is important here because of the way that this is put together. 5 of these conventions that canceled me were as large or larger than Anime Matsuri. So that goes through that. And it says here, I earned $30,000 at Anime Matsuri, but I would have earned a minimum of $20,000 per convention because they are all larger in attendance than Anime Matsuri. I would have expected to learn at least $5,000 at each smaller convention as well. So when you have that put together, think about the amount of money. Again, that's important because many of these people, when they talked about the GoFundMe, they pretended that $100,000, that was once the level, he was going to run off with that because that was some end-all be-all. They couldn't imagine money beyond $100,000. You see here, it's represented as $100,000 just from 5 conventions that they cost a person. So yeah, what kind of world are they living in? The owners or managers of the conventions that canceled me all stated that the cancellations were due to the allegations of assault being made by defendants. Several also mentioned the Funimation investigation as motivating their cancellation. So you have these places out there that have people going out of their way to try to destroy. We know that Kamea-Con, again, I did a video on that, talking about all of the accusations there, but we know that there were behind-the-scenes pressures. They had the threat to drop $25,000 that was made good. They had the threat to drop other voice actors that was made good. All of that stuff trying to damage a lot of other places, they would say, nah, I'm going to walk away. So you can imagine all of that mess. And then, well, if you want to add Chuck Huber to it, yeah. I've never been canceled at a convention before 2019. So all of this stuff before that, yeah, what a freaking mess. Then he goes through talking about these different folks and how, well, when you look at them and you look at what they say, yep, don't remember, or it's a bunch of garbage. You have people like Lynn Hunt that are mentioned here. Lynn Hunt, too. We know repeatedly that Lynn Hunt has gone out of her way to lie about things. At LJ Monteo, I've done videos talking about this person stealing art, going out and making accusations to have narratives change again and again. Crazy stuff. Kara Edwards. Kara Edwards says that, well, this guy is scratching and pawing at my door. I had a dance that was. We saw the video of that. The one that she said wasn't the right one, only to later say, well, that's actually the right one. And when you're looking at it, you're not framing it properly. I actually was scared because, and well, when you look at her, initiate it, having fun, yeah, it doesn't really fit together. Here's a person here that actually called out in another affidavit I'll do a video on. So we have yet another one here. When we go through, like I say, how many of these people do you see problems with? You have Emmett Plant here, for example, posting the day after he supposedly had this tragic endeavor happen where it scarred him. Yeah, he was posting about VIC Mignogna's hair being pretty. He was so damaged for it, and so on. We also have the twins. They are mentioned within this, and so on. Like I say, we have so many things listed there. You also have Vic bring up the consequences of this. As a result of the stress and anguish caused by the defendants, I have been diagnosed with depression and have been prescribed Zoloft. I have also been diagnosed with high blood pressure and have been prescribed another medication for that condition. These medications were prescribed after the defamatory assertions by defendants. So you see this. This is a guy that is in his mid to late 50s, has put in 2 decades of work that he will no longer get back. And well, yeah, now he has to be on medication because he is taking physical beating and a mental beating as well. He also mentions here that he had gone into Colleen Klinkenbeard's office and asked her why he wasn't cast more often. He was told that he could be difficult to work with because he occasionally requested additional outtakes or additional takes, even though the director was satisfied, and because he wasn't local. There was nothing else brought up in this. So when you go through all of this stuff, when you listen to that, and you listen to everything that has been brought forward, what you have is a story that doesn't really fit. It especially doesn't fit when you look at the way that Funimation is designed. I mean, we've heard about Funimation. We've heard exactly how they set up and what has gone on behind the scenes. So for them to suggest that someone putting their hand in your hair and saying that somehow led to assault, even though it wasn't named during any investigation, it doesn't seem to fit. A Jellybean being investigated doesn't seem to fit. Two twins living at the home of certain voice actor and, well, her other that is also named in this stuff, but, there's some type of assault. It doesn't seem to fit. There's so many pieces here that say that something else has gone on, or maybe has gone on. What I know is that damages were done. You can see them. You can see financial hits that will never be made whole. Let's be real about that. I mean, there are certain roles that will never be made there again. You have also the damage to reputation, because this guy, he's going to have to walk around with labels. He's going to have to walk around also with the damage that was done mentally, because, hey, with the depression there, he'll never be able to get over the fact that people he thought were friends attacked him. I mean, there's so much done, and there's so much more that might be done. But anyway, when you look at this, when you look at something like the affidavit, what do you feel about that? Because when I look at it, all I feel is saddened by it. I'm also reminded that you can't trust certain types of people out there. If you do, you might have this happen to you. But anyhow, you tell me what you think about it. Leave your comments for it. Like this kind of content too? Make sure you're subbed to the channel. As I said at the beginning there, it definitely helps out. Leave comments, like videos that you like, help it within the algorithm. Make sure that this kind of subject is one that people see. Also, if you want to go further, there are links in the description. And one of those is the Case of the Littlest Umbrella. We have 2 comic books attached to this, an all-ages Lovecraftian tale. Plus, if you go through here, we have a satirical take on all the madness that's been going on with comics. And yeah, it's interesting to look at, especially after the fact. Also, leave me your comments on this stuff. I want to see what you think about it. Pro or con, I read as many of them as I can. And ending, I want to say this. We have seen companies turn on fandom. We have seen voice actors attack. We have seen professionals go out of their way to try to demolish and destroy. I want to thank you for showing up. I want to thank you for participating in stuff. I mean, while people see this, it would be easy to walk away, to say forget all of this. But people, they are invested, and with good reason, because we want to see good things happen for people. We want to see justice. We want to see due process. So I want to thank you for your participation. I want to thank you for helping out with this endeavor. I love doing YouTube. I like being able to engage with fandom, and you make that possible. So again, thank you. I appreciate you. We'll do this again very soon.